This episode of the Topcast is proudly supported by Rock Out Loud.
Hey teachers, it's Tim here. Just before we get started with today's show, I wanted to let you know about an exciting free training webinar we've created to help you realize that secret project that's been brewing in the back of your mind. Perhaps you've considered writing a method book, selling your arrangements, becoming a composer, or promoting your own products, services, or even courses online. If this sounds like you, then I want you to hit pause. Yep, just hit pause right now and go to topmusic.co/3secrets and sign up for the event. It's called Teach Less, Make More, and Enjoy Every Minute by Becoming a More Entrepreneurial Music Teacher. Head over to topmusic.co/3secrets now. Hi teachers, welcome back to another episode of the Topcast. You're listening to episode number 244, and it's super to have you with us today again. I'm absolutely delighted whether this is the first episode you're listening to or the 244th episode. I really value that you are giving us your time, and hopefully you're getting some other jobs done while you're listening to this as well. I always think that's the best way to absorb a podcast while you're driving or walking the dog or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We've got a return guest today, Mike Grande, who actually came on the show about a year ago, right in the middle of the start, actually, of the pandemic. So we're going to be catching up with Mike and finding out more about what he's been up to, how he's coped with the closure of a school that he built in New Jersey, having spent more than $500,000 building, only to have to close. So we'll find out what happened with that, and also find out more about his Rock Out Loud live platform and how things are going with that. Now, don't forget, you can grab a full transcript and all our show notes and links over at topmusic.co/episode 244. My guest today, Michael Grande, is the owner of two music schools, one in New York and one in New Jersey. He claims to be the most successful failure in music. His dreams to be the next rock and roll star ended when his wife proposed to him 25 years ago. And since then, Mike has opened two music schools, one in New York and one in New Jersey. His New Jersey location, which cost him a whopping $650,000 to build, opened on November 2 in 2019. But little did he know, he'd be closed due to COVID just 5 months later. And when the world went online, Mike heard all of the challenges music teachers faced using Zoom for their music lessons, and it was then that he decided to take his Rock Out Loud live platform, which he'd been working on, to the world. And on July 4, 2020, rockoutloud.live, which was actually announced right here on this podcast, went live. And less than 1 year later, it's now being used in 142 countries. It's got 5,000 music schools, educators and teachers using it, and it's hosting over 40,000 music lessons a week. We're going to find out exactly what he's been up to, how it's all been going. Welcome back to the show, Mike Grande.
It's awesome to be back. It's almost a year, Tim. Would you believe
I know. And how much has happened in that amount of time. I do like hanging out with you because you've got this awesome New York accent, which I just love and I can't do very well.
I was out last night and somebody said, "You sound so Brooklyn." I'm like, "I don't." She goes, "Yeah, you just said fingers." And I said, "I didn't say fingers." Yeah. So I guess everybody's right and I'm wrong. I guess I do have some New York accent.
No, you certainly do. And you've got that New York attitude, which I really love. And it's been just amazing to see the growth of your Rock Out Loud live platform, which we're going to talk about later on. I also want to just find out generally how things have been going, because you had a huge impact on your own business through the pandemic and what's changed and how you see the future with hybrid lessons, all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk to all about the good stuff. But you're right, it was about a year ago. I had you on July, I think it was.
July
2020.
That was a favorite date.
Yeah, and that was the launch of Rock Out Loud Live, which, it was amazing. I got the scoop here. Now the cat's walking along the piano, so drum beats are going to start. And I said, "Get down." Oh, my goodness, every single time. But look, I thought there may be some people listening who don't know who you are. So I thought, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of your background and the music schools that you're running and that kind of thing?
You bet. Well, I tell everybody, I usually start the conversation, I'm the most successful failure you're ever going to meet in music. I wanted to be this grand rock star, and that never really happened. I guess the universe had a totally different plan for me. So my wife proposes to me, and we get married, and I have to leave that dream behind and get a real job with medical benefits. So while I was doing that, I opened up my first music school because I moved out of town, and I started teaching part-time as I was working full-time, and I saw people just did not teach the way I taught. So I told my students, I said, I will finance a music school. in New York, and I'll open it. I'll pay for everything. You just teach the way I taught you. And that's what started my first music school. That was 17 years ago in Staten Island, New York. And then I had this crazy idea to do it again about 2 or 3 years ago. I said, let me move out to New York, to New Jersey, and I'll just create a new music school there, and I'll see if we could do the same thing we did in New York, because it was a really big success in New York. And I opened up Rock Out Loud, and Rock Out Loud cost me $650,000 to open. People have called it the Disneyland of rock and roll music lessons, and it really is. And so I opened up November 2nd, I opened up, and like 5 months later, I had to close down. And what people don't know is the reason why Rock Out Loud Live became a thing, which started in August 2017, is because in the Northeast, we would get bombarded with these snowstorms that would close the schools down for 3 to 4 weeks a year. And then it was just like tackling 300 to 400 students to try to reschedule them. And it was such a challenge. So I decided to create the platform. So when schools were closed and we were closed, we can teach from home with this platform that would give you excellent audio. So that worked out great. Needless to say that it was not my intentions to use Rock Out Loud Live as a full-time gig, but that's what happened in March when everything closed. So 5 months after we opened up, we closed our school down. In fact, when I came onto your podcast, I was challenged because PPP didn't help me out much. I had a lot of contractors, and I was in the middle of selling my car and refinancing my home so I can pay my coaches to not leave me, so I can pay them to continue to teach and not get unemployment, because I have such talented coaches. I didn't want to leave them to leave me. So I did anything I could, sold my car, refinanced my house, paid them, got Rock Out Loud Live, as a worldwide thing now, as a platform, and it all turned out for the best. Looking back, hindsight's 2020, but who knew what I was up against?
Oh my goodness, yeah. And I know that some people listening who use Rock Out Loud Live may not know that it had its origins before the pandemic. I mean, you were working on this quite some time ago. I think the interesting difference, though, Mike, is that most teachers would go, oh yeah, snow days, 3 weeks. Yeah, I'll probably just go on Skype or something like that. But you said, right. No, I'm gonna build something proprietary from scratch. Why did you decide to do it your own way from scratch? I mean, this is a massive undertaking.
Well, that's a great question, but every single platform was really video based and not audio based. For us musicians, that's a challenge. I would get ear fatigue using Zoom, and the video would be great, but the audio would be horrible. You couldn't get full duplex. Sounds were compressed in the threshold. It just didn't work. So my focus was, forget so much the video. Let's take precedence on that audio experience. And that's what I set out to do. And 3 years it took. The patent that I actually applied for was in 2018. And last November is when, literally 4 or 5 months ago, is when it was finally patented with the United States Patent Office.
Well, congratulations. That's very, very cool.
2 years later. Yeah.
Well, look, I've been a huge proponent of Rock Out Loud Live, as you know. We've done lots of testing. Tested it with other people, with yourself, released videos on it, and the sound quality is extraordinary. And actually, Mike, you don't know, but last week I was asked to do a lesson with an advanced student who's going for their performance diploma. So they were playing, the top level Haydn, Beethoven sonatas, all that kind of stuff. And I was giving them a lesson on that. And I used Rock Out Loud Live. And I can tell you what, the quality, and he only had an inbuilt laptop mic. So originally he actually had a headset on with a mic in front of his mouth, and that was just terrible, because those headsets are the worst thing. Any teachers out there, if your student has a headset mic, get them to use anything but that. Exactly. So he switches it over to the laptop input, and I was able to hear absolutely 100% clarity with no dropouts for a 90-minute lesson.
Wow.
And I was able to give him the advice he needed at that kind of a level. That's how good the thing you've built is.
Thank you. And yet you can also hear the sustain pedal. You can't get sustain out of a Zoom call.
Right. Yeah. Because as soon as sound sustains, it starts to crack up and break up. So you've built incredibly successful platform, and it's been growing, and I'm really looking forward to diving in a little bit more about some of the differences between Rock Out Loud Live. And you've, in fact, since we first spoke, you've introduced more features and things, because you're always updating and listening to your users. And I think this is one of the biggest differences as well. Yeah. Zoom is this massive organization. And I, in fact, during the pandemic, I was trying to get support for something that I bought on Zoom.
Is this a joke? You'll never get support.
It took months. It was the most painful experience. And I know that teachers have told me, Mike will just say, hey, do you want to jump on a call with me? And I'll actually walk you through it. And you respond like next day. I don't even know how that's possible, but
No,
you're
I
doing
responded
amazing things.
within minutes. In fact, I'm on the Zoom Teach Online, Zoom Facebook groups. I'm helping people use Zoom. I'm not even telling them about my product because I'm sure they know about it for whatever reason. And I'm helping them, whether it's choose a mic, set up their mic configurations. But yeah, I just think it's not so much about us. It's about the students, because if the students have a rotten experience, then what are we doing it for, right? It's
Right.
all about the student. It really is.
Absolutely. Let's rewind just a tiny little bit, because back when we last spoke, you literally just closed down this school that you had just built. You'd spent
Yeah.
a huge amount of money and time and put everything into. So how did you actually manage during that period with your schools closed? I know financially you said, you had to refinance things and that. Well, what else did you have to do? Because I know a lot of other teachers will be like, yeah, that sounds, I had 10, 20 students. You had hundreds.
Yeah. Well, it was the anxiety of the whole thing, right? And the psychology. So we have one school in New York that's been around for 17 years. We have a phenomenal reputation. I mean, phenomenal. So the way I handled that school was entirely different from my school in New Jersey, because we're a brand new brand. No one knew us from Adam. We went up against, the top 20 biggest schools in New Jersey. Now we're probably the top 5. And so really, it was going from being nobody to closing. And then there's my music school in New York, from being the most popular and closing. So two different stories, which is you'll probably really appreciate, because there's probably somebody in the audience that's probably going to fit in one of the pockets. So the first one was my New York store. My New York school was great, but I also knew that we had over 200 students. We went down to about 120. So we lost 80 students or so. I also knew that there was a lot of anxiety. A lot of parents lost their jobs. So what we also did was we wanted to focus on the community. So the 120 people that stayed with us, what we did was I went out and reached out to every one of the parents, even the 80 people that left. Maybe it was 90 people. So there was 210 families. I went out and found local pizzerias, and I paid for dinner for every single one of those families, because I wanted to, help the local businesses. And that's not just the pizzeria, it was the delivery people. So the pizza man was like, listen, we're doing 10 pizzas with you guys a day. Is there anything you could do, to help the pizzeria delivery guys? I'm like, absolutely, double whatever you're paying them. I'll just pay for it. So I fed families. The families absolutely loved the fact that we just went out of our way for them. Pizzerias loved us because we're helping the community, even so much as the drivers. So that was the way I handled that. And, I didn't think about my PPP loan, which didn't come through. It came through in a fraction because they wouldn't support people with 1099s, which are contractors. So I'm thinking I'm going to get some money coming in. So I'm refinancing my house, paying everything out on my home equity line. But listen, I did the right thing. That's what it comes down to. And then for the New Jersey location, nobody knew us, really. It was 5 months up. They don't know anything about my integrity. So I said, listen, I'm going to just give everybody back their money. Just give them all back their money. There was a time about 70 people, but what we're going to do is go even tenfold. We're going to tell everybody, we're going to give them free music lessons until we can come back in person. And these free music lessons are not just in the state of Jersey. We'll do them from anywhere in the world. And that's how I was able to get everybody using the Rock Out Loud Live platform. Everybody came in for free. All my teachers were paid by me. They took a slight salary cut, very, very slight. And I took that on for about 2.5 months. But that one thing had built so much community, and people really felt that I really cared about them and not the dollar, especially as a new business. People started to come back in droves when we opened up. People were actually even paying me some extra money because of the things that I did. The mayor came back and said, you did so much for our community. Thank you. And it was just about giving back. It really, and now between both of my schools, we have 330 students, and we're still, hybrid. So we're only so far. We can probably go another 500 or 600 students, but it's not coming back to us. You got to put that out in the world, That's how we did it.
There's a heap to unpack there. But I want to bring up this idea that because music lessons run in really small communities quite often, you can have a huge power to look outside the nuts and bolts of music lessons. And you went, what's the most important thing here? It's supporting families and it's building community.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to really talk about music lessons. Let's just get everyone give everyone a big warm hug, support them, help them get through this together. And I think that is just, it's a tribute to your character and the amazing way that you interact with other people. But that's something that I think all teachers can take away. And that's not something that has to come about through a pandemic either. These are things that teachers could do in their local communities at any time, right?
100%. Even if you reach out to the community schools have cut back on their music, there's so much you can give to a community. And, people they don't do that because they're either apprehensive that they're not going to be taken or they might not be taken up on something like that. But reach out to the people in your community. You'd be surprised because in the end, it usually comes back tenfold because the person that you help might have nothing to do with music, but they might have a best friend that really wants to take music lessons.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it all comes back to it's karma. I really believe in karma.
You actually won an award recently. Was that related to what you mentioned from the mayor or something? Or was that different?
No, it wasn't. So somebody heard about, my YouTube room and they said, this person marries an amazing woman. She does things with the community as well. She does things with New Jersey International Pageantry. And she gets these beautiful women who have tremendous platforms. And because they're so beautiful, that's their step into the door to introduce a platform. Platforms like autism, or anything special needs related, or battered wives. Just mental wellness. The platforms that these women stood upon were phenomenal. And I wanted to be part of it. So I said, sure, have her give me a call. So we had the first person come on and I did a full interview. And I think this goes back to giving back to the community. My podcasts have nothing to do with Rock Out Loud Live, music lessons, nothing. It's all about them. I might spend a week researching them. And just like you're one of the most amazing podcast hosts because you just don't talk to people. You've researched them, you know their background, and you get very intimate with them. And that's why you're, of course, Tim Topham, Top Music. And what I did was I did the Tim Topham model. I did exactly what you did. And I went out to these beautiful women. I researched them. And before you knew it, I was a big hit. And every single Thursday, we did it for 5.5 months. I interviewed these beautiful women in platforms, and if there was anything I could do to support them, I would. So childhood hunger or no child left hungry was one of these platforms. So this woman came on the show. I donated an electric guitar. I said, raffle it off and let's see how many people we can feed. We fed over $500 worth of food for these children.
Awesome.
Just an amazing community. So that's what I did. So I went to the big pageantry in April and I won. I'll show it to you. I won this plaque here, which was Rock Out Loud was the sponsor of the year, which was great.
I love it.
And they had me. The funny thing is I was actually in the bathroom going to the bathroom, taking a leak. And they were like, where's Mike Grande? And I'm like, oh my God, I heard it on this PA system. I ran up on stage so I ran up on stage, picked up this award, but it was a great award. And they really feel like I was great for the community, but again, had nothing to do with music. Zero.
But look at how that, as you say, this is in some, I know you weren't doing it purely for the marketing, but there's kind of subconscious marketing going on in the background because people go, what is this Rock Out Loud? Mike's a musician. I'm going to maybe tell my friends about him and maybe they will have children that will go to his school and those kinds of things. So It's a great thing for teachers listening to think about the way that their impact on the local community in a non-musical sense can actually bring back marketing to them in other ways that they may not have even thought about. I think that's really a really subtle but clever approach too.
It is. That's not my intention, but
I realize,
it happens. Yeah, because when people come into my school, like I said, it is like the Disneyland. If you ever get a chance to go to rockoutloud.com,
I'm going to go to Rock Out Loud when these borders open.
Yes,
I'm getting a tour over there. The photos are amazing.
Yeah, there's a virtual tour on my website. You'll walk through Strawberry Fields, which is in Central Park in New York City. That guy did my Central Park, mural. It's in the center of my 7-foot mural, which is the tile that's in the floor. Every one of the facades are famous music venues in New York City and the West Coast. It's a beautiful place, and people see it, and then all of a sudden they start talking about that when they leave.
So you mentioned you've got about 300 or 350, I can't remember the number, students now.
330.
Yeah, how does that compare to pre-pandemic? You back where you were?
No, so New York had about, I think, 240, and that was a total. The top, we can only hold between 240, 250, so we're almost at capacity in New York. But remember, New Jersey had at the time 70, so we've almost doubled how many people were enrolled literally a year ago, which is
amazing.
Great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep growing, I know.
Yeah.
So you mentioned hybrid lessons before. So talk about how that mix is looking for you and what you think, how's this going to play out, do you think, in the future?
So I must have spoken to 5,000 people on these demos, and I remember telling you we've done demos. I've been doing demos since July 6th of last year, and the folks that are now using a platform like Rock Out Loud Live are now using it for hybrid models, for just reschedules and cancellations. People don't like showing up twice a week. They need to reschedule a lesson for their child. It's driving 20 minutes, waiting 30 minutes, driving 20 minutes back home. So parents are like, you know what? What we're doing now is we're just going to do a virtual lesson instead of a makeup. It's better for the school. So we don't have to really dedicate the time for the teacher to be there. The teacher can do it at his own free time. We had a really bad winter storms, I should say, this past winter. We had the school closed physically for probably about 10 days, but we went virtual. We didn't skip a beat. And I think now it's become a hybrid model. I have a couple of schools that just signed up with Rock Out Loud Live. Those schools were actually schools that would go home to home to home. So when they went virtual, they decided that they were going to do back to back to back. So if you had a 3:00 and a 3:30, a 4 and a 4:30, you can do 4 lessons in 2 hours. But you couldn't do that if you're visiting home.
When you're traveling,
you can only do 2 in 2 hours. So now the teachers that they have are doubling their money now on virtual lessons because you don't have to travel. There's no gas, there's no traffic. So a lot of those, traveling teachers are now just going exclusively to online virtual. I've had so many teachers say they packed up their stuff, they sold their homes, and they're now doing RV, and they're doing all of their lessons on the road. And now people are really learning about Carly Walton. She's got a phenomenal online presence. She's like
she's
the
done
mother
amazing.
of
online teaching. Yes, she is.
Yeah.
We love Carly.
I love Carly.
Yeah,
I love her. And she's been really an advocate of online teaching because you get so much flexibility out of it. So people really, I think this is going to be the new future. I was just reading in the Harvard Business Journal that somebody wrote it, that there are very few tectonic, they called it tectonic I guess movements that happen. Shifts, that's it, that happened. One was World War II, when all the men went to service and they had to rely on women to work the men's job, to find out women do a better job than men some of the times, or most of the times. So this is one of those, right, they do most of the time. So this is a tectonic shift where education is going to just go more virtual, and it's going to be less brick and mortar. So I see this being a long game that's just going to grow and grow and grow.
The use of virtual lessons, particularly for makeup and snow cancellations and things like that. I mean, that if nothing else, teachers should be keeping that in their back pocket for sure. Right. So not trying to reschedule in-person lessons. If a student just misses it, then just do an online lesson. Just record a video. It doesn't even have to be live online. Just record something. The change in that alone, I think, will be helpful for many, many teachers. But I think you're right that most of the teachers I've been speaking to and our members, even if they have resumed in-person lessons, there's a virtual component, 1 or 2 students even, or a regular weekly thing for students, or whatever it is, that is here to stay. And I'm delighted that there's a platform like Rock Out Loud that has the sound, thank goodness, the sound that we can actually put up with without squealing and squeaking and squawking. It's made such a difference. It really has.
Are virtual lessons with Zoom driving you mad? Audio issues? Trouble connecting? RockOutLoud.live is a virtual music lesson video platform made for music teachers who want to provide their students with the ultimate virtual music lesson experience. Inside the RockOutLoud.live video application, you'll have access to resources like sheet music searches of a library of songs, along with chords you can share across screens to your students in real time. Plus, your student can download their virtual lesson notes while inside the virtual session. It's cheaper than Zoom and gives you lots of the tools to teach an interactive lesson. I've personally been testing RockOutLoud.live with my students and also asking other teachers I know to try it out, and the feedback has been phenomenal. The ease at which you can connect with your students, the sound quality, and also the ability to share on-screen chord charts, chord symbols, and lead sheets is just phenomenal. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for a free 7-day trial by visiting RockOutLoud.live now.
So look, tell us, for those who are listening who might be new to you and your platform, Rock Out Loud Live, give us a quick overview. And what are some of the key differences? What does Rock Out Loud have that others don't?
Well, yeah, that's true. So there's a lot of things. I mean, those folks that use Rock Out Loud Live, if you go from Zoom over to Rock Out Loud Live, it's just such a big difference. And I really encourage people to go to ikilledzoom.com because you hear the A/B test, but besides the A/B test, you can do something with one of your students, and that's noticeable. It's so noticeable that when you go back to Zoom, it's almost like you can't go back to Zoom. So the thing about our platform that's so much different from any other platform is the flexibility and the ability to pivot. I think you said it best a moment ago. You said so many things have changed with this platform from when we started a year ago, and that's going to look different next year as well. We have the ability to make changes. If someone requests something, there's somebody on the Facebook group that said, hey, we really could use screen sharing on concert mode. Within 2 hours, I had my programmers and developers on it. Within 6 hours, it was done. People were like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's the flexibility that I have, and I have a great team. I probably have a team of 25 people here now, and it's just amazing. And they're all like really rooting for that platform to be the best they possibly can. So no one's really, all right, we'll do it tomorrow. They're like, that's a great idea. Let's just get to it now. You know, even concert mode. We introduced concert mode because.
So what is the concert mode? Tell people.
Yeah, people were doing recitals and they couldn't control a concert. So in other words, I would have 30 people on my concert and there'd be 10 people with background noise on a microphone, like a lawnmower or a car goes by or a baby crying or a dog barking. Concert mode gives the teacher full control of the entire room, almost like a conductor of an orchestra. Everyone comes in muted. They can't even unmute themselves. So everybody comes in just as a participant to watch. And then that conductor, the teacher, gets to select anybody in that room who's going to perform, unmute them. The teacher can unmute the student, and the student performs with crystal clear audio because no one's going to be able to interfere with them. And we even put this little icon that throws out confetti, so it goes across all 35 screens. 35 people.
Like it.
And we're going to also add an applause feature, so the teacher can actually hit the applause button, so they'll get a round of applause at the end of their performance, which is going to be great. That's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, leaving aside the incredible high fidelity audio, and it really has to be experienced to be believed. So go and get a test, go and do a free trial, go and test it out, or get a test demo with Mike, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that aside is enough to make people at least try switching, in my opinion. But that's not even half of the features you have, right? So tell us about, particularly for guitar teachers, I know, and piano teachers more and more, the on-screen PDFs and chord charts and things like that. Just give us a quick overview.
Yeah, so lots of times when you have a virtual lesson, it's the resources that you really need to provide a virtual lesson and the experience. So lots of times parents would walk behind their child, see the teacher, hey, how you doing, Mr. Tim Topham? And they'll just see a head. But now we have the ability on the screen in real time to open up a PDF of any piece of sheet music you have on your computer. We also have access to 1.8 million songs. And there are a lot of folks in the Facebook groups who had made a point that around Christmas time, when children were asking for holiday music, Rock Out Loud Live had tons and tons of it. They'd pull it up, and within seconds, they were doing Mariah Carey songs or Frank Sinatra songs. It was great. So that's there. The ability to pull up chords are right there. So if you're trying to teach somebody a song for the first time, the teacher has these tools. They select the chord, and within a second, it pops up right there on the student's screen. So the student gets to be able to play it. So instead of, drawing out PDFs or annotating, which we do have, it's all there for you. So parents are really seeing the value that a 30-minute lesson that they're paying for, they're getting 30 valuable minutes of the experience, not 10 minutes of the teacher trying to figure out where the music is or draw out what a chord is supposed to look like.
Right. Or screen share. I mean,
yeah.
When you say pull these things up, it's just a click on the screen. You don't have to do 5 clicks through to screen share and
that's right.
Click the right button over here and all that, right? It's there. It's integrated.
It's integrated right there, and it's all real-time and dynamic. You select it, it appears right there in front of your student.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And many other features that people will be used to from Zoom are already features in Rock Out Loud Live. I think you've got waiting rooms too now. Is that right?
We have the waiting rooms. Yep. Yeah. We have there's a doorbell. There's a doorbell that rings because somebody said, there's students in my room and I'm doing something else. Could you add a doorbell? So I added a doorbell. They asked, and we did it. We have the doorbell as well, the waiting rooms. Yep, we have that, and the whiteboard. So the whiteboard was the big thing. So we didn't realize how popular the whiteboard, or people were waiting for the whiteboard to be before they actually started using Rock Out Loud Live. So the whiteboard features a toolbar with a treble clef, a bass clef. There is, blank piano charts where you can actually fill in scales. There's all of these features literally built for a music educator, so you don't have to sit there with a stylus and draw sloppy lines and a treble clef that doesn't really look like a treble clef, and then you get these notes that are already predefined. So you select it and it actually goes directly into the staff, and it's in perfect proportion to it. So you don't have to redraw it. It's perfect.
So a year ago, you had about 5 users. How are you looking today? And how many countries are you in?
We're I said 142, I think, yes, just on when I sent that email to Ali, but now it's 145 3 days later. So we're on 145 countries.
Amazing.
We signed up around 5,000 people. It's just grown exponentially. I mean, when I say between 5 and 25 users every day sign up as a brand new account to use the platform, it's every day. We host 40,000 lessons a week just on Rock Out Loud Live. And we are so worldwide that everything's geolocated. So if you're logging in from Australia, you're going to use our Australian servers, and you're going to get the slow or the lowest, I should say, amount of latency possible, because you're actually logging into a location where there are specific servers. So it's a great feature, and it knows everywhere you're logging into. It's a very smart analytical tool.
The teacher that I was, the student that I was working with in this advanced lesson was in Sydney. So, 1,000, okay, I don't even know how far away Sydney is. Anyway, it's an hour's flight away. And I can tell you that the latency was great. So definitely the local servers, 100% working in that regard. Tell us quickly about pricing and things like that as well.
Sure. Well, you get the first 7 days for free, and that's at $9.95. So we don't offer any contracts. It's just pay as you go, month to month. You sign up for free the first 7 days, which is great. You get to use everything in the platform, including our tech support. So the one thing I want to say is there are so many different applications now, whether it's Skype or WebEx or FaceTime or Zoom, but we offer customer experience. For example, onboarding. If you sign up, even if you're with the 7 days or that free trial 7-day period, you can call us up. We'll onboard you and your students. You have a question, you can give us a call. We usually answer it on the very first ring. Those of you who have called will know, and they can basically verify that we pick up on the first ring. The coaches that pick up are the coaches that use Rock Out Loud Live, so they'll know how to troubleshoot. Your student has a problem. There's been instances when me and all of the students got on one call. We've troubleshot every single one at a time, because the goal here is to make this an amazing experience for the students and the teachers.
And the teachers,
so important.
Yeah. So in Australia here, we're very lucky. We've pretty much eradicated the virus, except in our hotel quarantine, which is quite amazing. So a lot of us, we're getting kind of lazy. We're kind of getting back to normal. But I know you're a big believer in having a backup plan and having something like this as part of that. So could you speak to that for a moment as well?
Yeah, I'm also an IT guy over in New York City. We're working from home, but everybody that it's in the IT world has what they call a BCP or a DR plan, which is a disaster recovery plan. Almost like it's an insurance policy. Every single business has an insurance policy, every one of them. And I think, in my opinion, coaches, teachers, music educators should have their own backup plan, disaster recovery plan. In the events that something like this happens, I think nobody in the world who was teaching music at the time had a plan like this, except for, of course, Carly Walton, because this is what she was perfect, right? But now it's given us some thought. Hindsight's 2020. Do we carry a plan? Do we have something that we can send out to students on the fly, which is a quick cheat sheet guide to tell them how quickly to get on an online platform? Do you have an online platform that you're familiar with? Do you have a support that you can have a phone call with in case you have trouble? I think we should all have that. And for $9.95, it's very inexpensive. And if you just keep one student virtually, which if, let's say you spend they spend $150 a month for lessons. That one student who signs up for virtual lessons is paid for the entire year of your virtual platform. So it's really worth it, in my opinion, to have a platform that you can say, A, for reschedules or makeup lessons or inclement weather or a disaster, that you'll have and you're familiar with, that your students are familiar with it as well. So for $9.95, it's also a business write-off. In my opinion, I think that's worth the $9.95 a month.
100%. And if you do use something of an online, a video approach for makeup lessons, then the other advantage of that is, well, one, it's easier for you. It's great for parents too. The students understand how it works, but it also keeps your hand in these backup systems so that if we do in the future need to go back to this approach, for whatever reason, you can quickly go back. And it's not going to be the month or two of horrendous stress that we all felt last March.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Of getting our head around how do we actually do this, because it's going to become a part of how we all operate, I think.
Yep.
Moving forward. Well, Mike, been great to catch up on Rock Out Loud, and I'm delighted about how things have gone for you and for all the teachers. The feedback from the teachers in our membership that have been using it is fantastic. And
that's great.
Always put my name behind things that I believe in and that I use myself, and I would never recommend anything that I don't believe in, and I believe so strongly in this one. So congratulations on all you've achieved, and thanks for giving us a platform that we can actually put up with and use with our students without tearing our hair out.
I appreciate it. And I got to give grace to you and Clinton Pratt, who did an amazing. Clinton, by the way, is an amazing pianist.
He
was playing with you on that A/B, and just to take the time and sit there and A/B test between the Zoom platform and Rock Out Loud Live, and even spend the time and just really do a beautiful write-up. I really appreciate that. I got to give grace to you, Tim. Thank you.
That's all right. If you missed that test that I did with Clinton Pratt, it's over on my YouTube channel. We'll put a link in our show notes today. Mike, before we wrap up, you did a presentation on Nicola's Teacher Turbo Boost recently.
Yes.
And Nicola, for anyone that didn't attend Nicola's summit or online program, it was super different to normal ones because all the speakers had only 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something. That's crazy short, right? Which is really hard when we're quite talkative people. Now, you talked about something called the 1 extra inch or something like that.
The 1 inch. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, the 1 inch. Give us, as a sort of way to wrap up today, give us the overview of that, and we can leave people to think about that as well.
Yeah, my 1 inch is, I wanted to find something that was a little bit different than any other music school or any school that's ever done. And I love to give grace all the time and give thanks to my students. I always give out these little gifts, personalized gifts. They must be personalized to every one of our coaches, every one of our students. And I do it in around January, February, after the holidays. So it never seems like a Christmas gift or an Easter gift, or it's not a holiday gift. It's always something that nobody ever expects. And that's my 1 inch. If you can give that 1 inch difference between you and your competitor, you are going to thrive exponentially. And this is exactly what I do. I have this here. I don't know if you can see, well, you can't see it, of course, on the audio of the podcast, but this right here is a WAV file. And what I've done here is I've taken a WAV file. I have each one of my coaches record a personalized message to their student. And then I convert that WAV file to a visual audio WAV file and attach it to a QR code.
So Mike, just for those people who are just listening, Mike's holding up a piece of paper with a waveform, like a audio waveform. It looks beautiful. It kind of goes from black to blue in the middle to black, and then there's a QR code below it. So what happens?
That QR code is the actual audio that's converted, that's from that WAV file. Now, that WAV file is a personalized fingerprint. So what we do is we ask the student to put their camera over that WAV file, and when it does, it actually plays a message directly to the student from their coach. And this is what it sounds like.
What's going on, Dad? It's Salvatore from Rock Out Loud. I just wanted to let you know I'm super proud of you and how far you've come. We've learned a lot of music theory. We've learned a lot of songs together. And you've come a really long way as a guitar player. I can't wait to see what 21 has in store for me and you.
So that's basically what I do is I send
that's super cool.
child. Yeah, and they put these 8x10s that you print them out online. You send them in a big envelope with their name on them. They actually frame them. Their parents come and they use their phones. And every time that child, either breaks their iPhone, has a fight with their friend, fails a class, they put their phone up and they just hear their coach, saying these great words of inspiration to them. And it really makes a big difference. The feedback is astronomical. I got to tell you, every time we send these out in February, by March, we have probably another 30% of people just signing up out of nowhere. It's probably because somebody's hearing or seeing what we've done, posting it on Facebook. But I've been doing this every year now for 4 years. I started sending out, 50, 60 at a time, and now I'm sending out hundreds at a time. Total, it's probably about $5 each. But if your students are paying you every month, what's $5, right? To put a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Once a year, right?
Yeah.
And it's those little things. That's my 1 inch. And I was so grateful for Nicola to have me on her Turbo conference, which was amazing. And she's such a great person too. She's also there for the community. The piano community's got so many great people to really help them be the best.
We're very lucky, really lucky. Yeah. So I guess the question for all our listeners is, what could your 1 inch be? What's that little simple thing that you could do for all your students, which could set you apart from anyone else around you? And I get a lot of teachers saying, I can't charge more because there's 5 little studios down the road and they're all charging $5 a day for lessons, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I always talk about how can you differentiate yourself? And this is one super simple idea for differentiating. What can you do that's really easy, like Mike's doing, that will blow your kids and their parents' minds and make them go and talk about you some more? Yeah. And I know from my own kids how much they love getting something in the mail with their name on it.
Yes, exactly.
Because it never happens, right?
It's like Christmas Story with Ralphie and the little orphan Annie Dakota, right? He opens up the mailbox. But it's the same exact thing. Kids absolutely love getting something in the mail.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great idea. I hope people have a bit of a think about that one. Thanks heaps for coming on the show again, Mike. Give us your web address. Where can people check out the virtual studio tour, number one, and then Rock Out Loud Live?
So rockoutloud.live, that's strictly for, the rockoutloud.live virtual platform. Rockoutloud.com is my school. When you go to rockoutloud.com, you have the virtual tour. It's a link that you put up there. It will take you through the entire walkthrough of exactly what it looks like. And it's just an experience. About 3,500 square feet. You get to see the recording studio, the YouTube room where I do all my interviews, as well as the teaching rooms, which is great. But if you have any questions, anybody could just email me at rockoutloud@gmail.com. I'd be happy to set up a demo anytime.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. I can't wait to see your studio in real life. I mean, look at it as an inspiration, guys. Don't get dismayed that you'll probably never have something like that. But look at it as an inspiration and look at what you could do. What aspects of what Mike has created could you bring to your own studio that your students and coaches and teachers would love? So thanks heaps for coming on the show. It's been awesome to catch up with you again, Mike.
Always great to talk to you every single time, Tim. Thank you so much for having me.
See you later, buddy.
You bet. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Mike Grande, and if you are interested in trying out Rock Out Loud, as Mike said, he's more than happy to give demos and things like that. But if you want to find out more, just head to topmusic.co/rock, and we will put you in touch with Mike through our affiliate link there. So topmusic.co/rock will get you connected to Rock Out Loud, and that is an affiliate link, so we get a very small commission when people follow through that link. But I can guarantee you it's the platform I use. I'm not going to be going back to Zoom for music lessons anytime, ever. So I really do encourage everyone to at least check it out if you haven't tried it. You're going to be blown away by the quality of the sound compared to Zoom. There's just no doubt about that at all. So if you are looking at keeping online lessons as part of your hybrid mix, or if you're a full online teacher, then definitely head over to topmusic.co/rock to check out Rock Out Loud Live. Hey teachers, if you've enjoyed today's podcast and want to hear more about how other music teachers have brought their secret projects to life, check out my free webinar where I share 3 secrets to make more income as a music teacher without teaching more hours. It's super cool. Sign up today at topmusic.co/3secrets. Next week on the podcast, we have another return guest, actually, all the way from London, the United Kingdom. It's the wonderful Tom Donald, incredible jazz teacher, but also specialist in marketing, group lessons, online teaching, international marketing, adult teaching, and jazz and improv. But we're actually going to be talking about whether recitals and performances are actually the best way of assessing students' progress in music, or are there some other options we should consider? We're going to be talking about all that and more next week. I hope you join us. Thanks so much for listening to the Topcast from topmusic.co. I'm Tim Topham, and I will speak to you in a week's time. Bye-bye.
For more information about this episode and to find out how to enhance your own teaching, visit topmusic.co. You'll find everything you need for your studio, from lesson plans to cheat sheets, quick win teaching ideas, and guides on how to build your teaching business. Plus, you'll be connected to a global community of the world's top music teachers. And when you're ready, join hundreds of other teachers around the world by becoming a Top Music Pro member and get access to all our bonus content and flagship courses. And don't forget to follow topmusic.co on social media and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. That's all for today. We'll see you in the studio.